What's going on, guys? One of the most common questions I get all the time is how do you get ready for each deck? We're going to go one by one through the format, breaking down what every deck does, showing their combo, how do you hand trap them, common counters that are main decked versus them, and what can you side deck versus these decks. Welcome to 10-Minute Takedown. We cut the video so close last time. I actually ended the how to beat section, the takedown, in 9 minutes 59 seconds. Again, 10-minute takedown. We got 10 minutes to do this. We're not going to cut it that close this time, but we got Dragon Link, and we're going to see how do you beat Dragon Link. So let's take them down. 10 minutes on the clock. Well, 20 seconds ago. So 9.5 minutes. Let's go. Well, we just saw the board. Like, what does Dragon Link actually do? That board I didn't do. I feel like the more standard board is Dragon Maid Tiding for a bounce, Seal for a bounce, Savage for a negate. So a negate and double bounce is actually really strong when they have a follow-up to go with it. That time we were able to have the negate or the bounce from Seal, the negate from Savage. We actually made Hot Rest, Hot Red Archfiend Abyss. Again, maybe there's a better way to play that hand out. I just did a random hand after putting a deck together based off like some little bit of research. And that's how I played the hand and was able to do a pretty solid end board though. Rip a card with Levineer 2 in there, and actually if you played like a Hope Harbinger, you could have revived the Chaos Ruler and had 2 level 8s, but I guess you'd have to have a dark one, so a dark Xyz. Sanafon is a good one, the Sky Prison, stop the special summoning from the graveyard. Probably the best route, I guess, to go there. So yeah, I mean, like, you could have went into a rank 8 play. You could have held the Levineer 2 in your hand, but like, they have ways to get the stuff back anyway. But definitely could have held the Levineer 2 and just not ripped a card, ended Hot Red, sorry, Savage and Seal. But the Seal tributing during the turn often gets their combo ready for next turn anyway, so like, it's not a huge deal. They're very strong and very consistent. Like, they don't put up unbreakable boards like they used to, but they can put up a board like that or like the double bounce negate basically every hand, and the deck is just so consistent because it sets up its follow-up with it, so it doesn't just vomit everything out onto the board and say break my board and you win. It puts out a really strong board and says break my board and win this turn, or I mean, I'm coming right back and building my board back, so you better be ready for it. Like I said, sometimes they have the Levineer Rip in there too, giving you one less card to start with. They have very strong follow-ups. They have possible hand traps, especially Chaos Ruler, being able to look at the top 5. They'll play cards like possibly Skullmeister when it's in the format, Veiler, even Nibiruks. If you break their board, then they drop the rock on you, and then they can still come back on their turn because they already have their follow-up. Lancia too, like, is a light, but that Chaos Ruler can not only hit these hand traps and add them to their hand, it can hit like the Dragon Maid Tiding to the graveyard so they can banish it. It could hit the Absa Router to the graveyard so they can add off of it. It can hit the Safer or the Levineer to the graveyard so they can use the other one to get Levineer back to their hand. Like, it acts as an extender and a dig for a follow-up, or like in that replay, like, we hit Absa Router was the best one in my opinion because I could get Levy back from the grave anyway, and then just special the Absa Router to make the Savage. And like, the Chaos Ruler is just crazy in what it can do and the versatility and the utility, and it comes back from the graveyard too, so the recursion, like, the card is nuts. Going second though, they just go for break your board, access code, Boral Sword, big dragon monster, big beaters, and just like crush you, or they'll break their board, break your board, and if they can't go for a game, they'll just set up their board as good as they can, and then now you have to play through them. So that's kind of what we go for. Hand trapping. How do we hand trap Dragon Link? Well, Ash Blossom, Chaos Space. Chaos Space, Chaos Space, Chaos Space. This card hurts so much if you Ash them because now they sent a card and they used it. They go neg1, but they're not always going to have it, right? So you can actually hit the quick launch too if Chaos Space didn't come out earlier, and they're not going to use it likely because it's something that usually comes out before they get to the Dragon Ravine point. By the time they get to Dragon Ravine, they're probably not going to use Chaos Space unless they like had to, you really disrupted them. So at that point, you could hit like the quick launch or even like the Tiding in the graveyard and stop that summon of the chamber Dragon Maid, because then chamber searches out another tiding anyway. So you're stopping the extender, you're stopping the disruption, and that trap also can search out, well, another tight or another chamber, and that's where they're really gonna just start. Like, that recursion is insane. So stopping that is actually really, really strong. You can Ghost Spell. I mean, you could hit Dragon Ravine too after the discard, depending what it is, and potentially, you stop that dump to the graveyard, which could stop like the add to hand. So Dragon Ravine also not the worst thing to hit in the deck. Ghost Spell, probably hitting like Pisty here, just because you're stopping that play. Whether they're trying to summon back Seifert or not Seifert, Chamber Dragon Maid that they like got to the graveyard off like Dragon Ravine, or if you're stopping back, getting that Tracer back where they're just going to pop off with their plays. Ghost Spell on the Pisty can be very, very strong. Otherwise, hitting like if you didn't have it but you drew it and they're trying to use it later, you can like Ghost Spell the Seifert that's trying to get a Levy back to their hand, or put something back in the extra deck to make another run at a play. That's something you could do. You could Ghost Spell the Striker effect to add to their hand. Ghost or Ghostmeister, Skullmeister. They do so much chain blocking. Skullmeister's kind of tricky, like mid combo. You could hit the Absa Router and hope they don't have enough extenders to keep going. Otherwise, saving it for your turn. If they're like, I mean, they might have the negate anyway, but you can force them to negate it, and then you don't have as many negates to play through. But you Skullmeister the Seal in the graveyard effect to summon to the field, and either you can help stop their follow-up play, or you force a negate by using the Skullmeister on the Hierdic Seal. That's always been a really strong play. Imperm and Veiler I actually like to use on the Chaos Ruler, because we already talked about how strong the card is, everything it does, and like it's insane. Like, you stop that card. I don't like Gamma on it because they can just revive it back and then still get into hot red plays that way. Gamma, you can just save for the Savage, and when it activates its effect to equipped, you just Gamma it. Now it gets destroyed too, so they use the resources on it. They're probably locked into Darks. They don't get the Savage, they don't get the negate. It's not like Chaos Ruler where they can banish 2, summon it back, and go into a hot red still. It's just gone, it's done, and you guaranteed got rid of that disruption. So I do like Gamma on the Savage instead. Droll's pretty good versus the deck, but sometimes they're gonna have like, oh, you drolled me. Okay, I open double quick launch. Like, I don't need it. Like, I'm good. I'm good. Lancia turning off all their chaos plays, turning off white, black, chaos base, Leveneer, the trap in the graveyard, tidying. They can't banish to summon. Yeah, like, Lancia is, I'm not saying side deck Lancia versus them, but if you main deck it, because it's great versus Virtual World, it's great versus Tri Brigade, and you main deck it, and or your deck dies to it, and you're playing Crossout, and you have Lancia, and you opened it, by all means, Lancia could stop their turn. I've seen it happen more than a couple times, because you just cut off access to like a third of their deck. A third of their extenders are just gone because you played that Lancia, and their end board isn't going to be that great. Nibiru, again, Nibiru can be really good here, but it does tribute, so it's going to activate that seal in the graveyard, because they will usually get to Hierdic Seal by 5 summons. So if you do Nibiru them, be expecting that to come out, whether then they go for, a lot of them don't play Brotar anymore though, but they can go for like a Seifert, extend that way. They could go for just the Chamber Dragon Maid. They can go for, getting back a Tracer if they didn't use its effect yet, and now they can continue on a little bit at least. So again, Nibiru is not necessarily going to end their turn, but it could significantly hurt their end board, really depending on their extenders. Same as Droll, same as Lancia. It all depends on their opening hand for those big 3 hand traps. Counters that may be commonly played: Dark Ruler, turning off their board. Droplet, same thing. Triple Tactics Talents, after they use like Seal to bounce your card, Talents take the Savage. Like, they have to negate it, and then they're out of their negates. Cosmic Cyclone on the Tiding, just to kill that follow-up in that recursion play. Forbidden Chalice, also pretty good too, because you can summon, they try and negate with Savage, you chain Chalice, now you force the bounce, or you force, you stop their negate. So that's kind of like what I would recommend for cards that might be main deck to take them down. Side decking, guys, the traps. Obviously, goes and match if you hit them on the seal. What else are they going to do? You know, Rivalry, not that good here, but Summon Limit, Artifact Sanctum, these other really strong traps, you know, Torrential Tribute. And as far as going second, Drolls, you know, your Nibiru's, if you really want the Lancia, Kaiju, Dark Ruler No More, all of those cards once again. And I told you guys it wouldn't be 9:59 this time, it's 9:52. Take care, and until next time, hit that subscribe button.